what's going on YouTube? Casey here. I finally got this Borg Warner 1356 transfer case put back together, and I took a lot of pictures of the process. So let me show you how it goes, just in case one of you out there has to put one of these together and lost the order of parts. Check it out.
So this is the bare Planetary assembly as far down as it can be taken. And here's the installed needle bearing and the bronze bushing that the input shaft rides on. So here we've got the bare rear half of the case, bearing installed. Here's the pocket for the front drive shaft support bearing. Here's a shot of the driver I used. It's important to use a driver of a larger diameter so that, as you can see here, the needle bearing is installed flush. That allows you to remove it later. Here is the shift shaft bore. Shift shaft seal installed. I use a little bit of sealer. Flip the case over, and this is the Planetary well and the backside. So this is your shift quadrant installed, just set in place with the return spring, and then you go flip it back over again and insert the shaft, capturing that piece. This is the front half of the case, bearing pocket, bearing installed, and then the snap ring that goes in to hold the bearing in place. Okay, flipping the case back over, here is the Planetary well. Now I like to throw my bearings in the freezer overnight just to make them a little bit tighter so that they install a little bit easier. That's the bearing installed, and then here is the snap ring that holds it into place. Next comes the outer Planetary gear, and that just slides into place. Try to match up the wear mark so that it's in the same place that it was, and here's the snap ring that holds it. And then the Planetary slides in from the inside, and then very carefully flip the case over, support the Planetary, and set it up like so that you can see down in that well is where the snap ring goes that holds everybody up. And there is that snap ring installed. Okay, so next is your high-low shift fork and slider. If you set it in place and pivot it into the quadrant, then you can slide the shift shaft in. If you try to put it together the other way, it's hard. Next, your input shaft goes in to the Planetary, lining up with the splines, and then you can drop your lower oil pump half into place. Next, we install the oil pump cam and spring into the input shaft, and then the oil pump main body can slide into place. Okay, then the top half of the oil pump body slides into place. You start the two inner bolts, throw your pickup in the groove on the other side of the case, and then the magnet slides in over the top of the pickup to hold everything in place. This is the oil pump arm. I'm marking it for a piece of 3/8 round rod, and then I weld that in. That keeps the oil pump arm from eating into the case. Okay, so at this point, our front output shaft can drop into place, and then we take the gears in the chain as an assembly and very carefully lower them over the shafts. Next, our mode slider can go on, and then the mode fork can attach to the slider, and the shift shaft goes into place. The return spring goes over the top of that. Don't forget the spacer on the front output shaft gear, and then the snap ring. Finally, don't forget the snap ring on the input shaft. Now we can take and put our case halves together. A small bead of silicone, finger tighten everything, let it set up for an hour, and then go back and torque to spec. Do the same on the housing extension. Output shaft seal with a little bit of sealant on the outside. Output shaft flange and nut. Now, if you have a later model transfer case, you will have a little set screw in the bottom of the shift quadrant into the shift shaft. Don't forget to tighten that with a little bit of red Loctite. Then the indicator switch can go into place. And lastly, the vent. Use a little bit of Teflon sealant on both of those. Stand the case up and do the input shaft seal, a little bit of sealant on the outside. And then the front output shaft seal. Front output yoke, and then finally the seal washer and nut torqued to spec.
All right, guys, I hope you found that informative, helpful. You know, I always, before I start a project, I always go on the internet and I see what's out there. And, you know, I say forewarned is forearmed. Forearmed is I don't know. I don't know how that saying goes. Anyway, I always go on the internet, I see what's out there, and on this project there were a couple different forum builds, but they were all a little light on photographs. My buddy Joey at Getting Junk Done has probably one of the most informative Borg Warner 1356 rebuild videos out there, but he didn't take his all the way down. So I just, you know, I take pictures of stuff anyway. I figured I'd make a slideshow and show you guys how it goes together from the cases to the complete T-case unit. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Let me know in the comments what you thought though. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel because that helps me keep content coming to you week after week. I am gonna have to take a little hiatus yet, but I'm not gonna do it this week. So stay tuned, I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we can keep it coming, keep it going. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. See you soon. All right, bye.